Hey guys, I'm not gonna lie, I'm recording this at 2 a.m. after I just finished the voiceovers for all the other clips, so I'm sorry if my voice sounds dead. But anyways, I just want you guys to send some feedback in the comments if you like this type of video, if you prefer that I talk like this with captions, or if you guys want me to talk like this. Anyways, make sure you guys leave a like if you enjoy, and make sure you send this to a friend who needs it. Alright, on wave 1, you're going to place one worm G all the way in the back, as well as two worm Gs up front, one on first, one on last. From here, you can farm until wave 5. Alright, on wave 5, you want to upgrade the worm G that's by itself one time. Alright, and once you reach wave 8, the D cells start to get too far, so you can just go ahead and max worm G and pop his nuke. After you pop his nuke, just go ahead and finish your farms. Alright, on wave 10, the D cells are going to start getting pretty far, so you want to place an Aizen and get him to the full AoE upgrade, and then use his rewind. Also, I forgot to mention, sell one of the worm Gs up front, and then max both worm Gs. Once you do that, set each worm G to closest. Alright, on wave 16, you'll see the D cells start getting far again, so you're going to want to place at least 6 Aizens on full AoE. You can easily prevent this by bringing a slow, but for the sake of this video, I'm only using these 4 units. Alright, on wave 19, when the bosses come out, you want to control the Aizen that you max. If you can't afford to max Aizen on wave 19, I suggest you sell all the extra Aizens as well as the worm Gs. And if you still can't afford Aizen, I suggest you bring another farm like Speedwagon or Octo. Alright, that's it for World Competition Raid. On to the next one. Alright, as soon as the game starts, go ahead and place a worm G at each of the enemy spawns. From here, you can just farm until wave 3. Alright, on wave 3, place a worm G at your base and set them the closest. Once you do that, you can continue farming until wave 8. Alright, on wave 8, you're just going to go ahead and max the worm G closest to your base and pop the nuke. Alright, once your farms are done, you can max the worm G in the middle and set them the closest. This will prevent you from getting skip limit. You can also go to the back and start maxing out your Aizen. Be sure to use rewind whenever you need it. On wave 19, the D cells are going to start getting really close to your base, so I suggest you rewind until you can use the next Worm G nuke. Once the Worm G nuke pops, you can just control Aizen and clone the bosses. Alright, that's all for Purple Planet Raid. On to the next one. Alright, wave 1, place a Worm G at each enemy spawn, and then place a third one in the middle where I do. On wave 3, you can place a Worm G somewhere near your base so you can catch all the stray D cells. Depending on how far your D cells are, max a Worm G on wave 9 or 10. Once your farms are done, you can start putting full AoE Aizens wherever your buff is located. Make sure you don't sell the Worm G that's at the base, because as you can see, I sold mine and I had to go back and replace it later. Alright, once the bosses spawn, wait a little bit until all the enemies are gone, and then you can use Aizen's clone ability. Alright, that's it for Darkness Raid. On to the next one. Alright, wave 1, you're going to place a Worm G at each enemy spawn, so there should be a total of 3 Worm Gs down at the start. Wave 3, you're going to place a Worm G near your base and upgrade him 1 time. From here, you can farm all the way until wave 7. On wave 7, you can pop Worm G's nuke, because if you don't, you're going to get skip limit. Once you do that, you can finish your farms. Once your farms are done, you can start putting full AoE Aizens in the middle where I do. If you use Worm G's nuke on wave 7, like I said, the nuke should come back shortly after the bosses spawn. So you can go ahead and control Aizen and be ready to use the clone ability.
Alright, that's all for Malevolent Raid. On to the next one.
Alright, wave 1, place a worm G at the enemy spawn and set them the closest. On wave 2, go all the way to the base and place another worm G on upgrade 1. From here you can farm until wave 6. On wave 6, place a full AoE Eisen where I do. This Eisen is mainly here for rewinds if you need it. On wave 10, selling and replacing Worm G isn't required, but go ahead and max him so you can use his nuke. After you use your nuke, you can go ahead and place more full AoE Eisen. When the bosses spawn, wait for all the enemies to be gone, and then you can use Eisen's clone ability.
He scored a chug. Nothing.
Hey guys, I've just been sitting here eating pizza while staring at the red moon. Nah, but anyways, first go ahead and place a worm G at each enemy spawn. Then next place a fourth worm G at your base. From here you can farm all the way until wave 8. On wave 8, max the worm G at your base and turn on his auto activate. On wave 10, your farm should be done, so you can go ahead and put full AoE Eisens in the middle. On wave 19, I recommend you turn off Worm G's auto activate and manually use the nuke when the bosses spawn. When the bosses spawn, you can use Worm G's nuke. Also, you'll see that I waited for all 3 bosses to get in Eisen's range because sometimes it could be really buggy with the clones. Alright, that's it for Divine Raid. On to the next one. Alright, wave 1, you're gonna place a worm G at the enemy spawn and set him to last. From here you can farm until wave 5. On wave 5, max worm G and use his nuke. Next wave, put a full AoE Eisen in the middle of the map. Once your farms are done, you can start putting full AoE Eisens near the spawn. When the bosses spawn, wait for all the enemies to be gone and then use Eisen's clones. Alright, that's it for Sniper Raid. On to the next one. Alright, wave 1, go all the way to the front and place Wormg where I do, and make sure you set them the closest. Make sure to set this Wormg the closest as well. Also, when you start farming with Idol, make sure you put her all the way in the front with the first Wormg you place. This is mainly so you don't get skip limit. On wave 5, go to your base and upgrade the Wormg to a circle AoE. On wave 7, max Wormg and use his nuke. From here you can finish farming. Whenever your farms are done, you can max the Wormg in the front. You can also start putting full AoE Eisens near your base. On wave 19, the D cells get super close to hitting your base, and you should be fine, but I definitely recommend bringing a slow. Anyways, when you pop the nuke, control Eisen and clone the bosses that are together. Alright, that's it for Enuma Raid. On to the next one. Alright, wave 1, place a Wormg in the middle of each enemy spawn where I do. On wave 2, place 2 Wormgs where I do. From here you can farm until wave 6. On wave 6, put a full AoE Eisen in the front. I use my nuke on wave 7, but you can use it on wave 6 if you need it earlier. From here you can finish your farms. On wave 10, you can place as many full AoE Eisens as you want, but just be ready to spam rewind the D cells.
When the bosses spawn, wait until all the enemies are gone, and then you can use Aizen's clones. Alright, that's it for the Path Raid. On to the next one. Alright, on wave 1, place Wormgy at the enemy spawn and set him to last. On wave 3, upgrade Wormgy 1 time. Okay, I'm not sure why I maxed Wormgy on wave 6, but yeah, we're gonna use the nuke on wave 7. On wave 9, place a full AoE Aizen in the middle and use his rewind. And since this raid only has 15 waves, you can just use all of your cash on Aizens and Wormgy. Alright, that's it for the Dueled Raid. On to the next one. On wave 1, place 2 Wormgies, one on each side of the base. Then on wave 2, do the same thing, but set them to last. On wave 6, place a full AoE Aizen in the middle. Alright, for this part, you can either nuke on wave 10 or you can rewind the airs and then nuke on wave 11. It really doesn't matter. But yeah, once you use the nuke, sell a Wormgy on each side and max out the remaining Wormgies. You can also start putting full AoE Aizens. Once the bosses spawn, wait for all the enemies to be gone and use Aizen's clones. Alright, that's it for the Venom Raid. On to the next one. Well, if it isn't my arch nemesis. Don't worry guys, the solo extreme version is coming to Night Night Kid very soon. Anyways, on wave 1, place a Wormgy at each enemy spawn and set them both to last. Then run all the way to the back to place a Wormgy for D-cell insurance. This map is really big, so you don't have to worry about nuking until wave 9. But yeah, just max one of the Wormgies and pop the nuke. Once you finish your farms, you can defend with Aizen, but Wormgy's auto nuke will basically solo because this map is so big. When the bosses spawn, just wait for both of them to be in range, and then you can use Eisen's clones. Come on, man. That's too easy. Alright, anyways, on to the next one. Alright, on wave 1, place a Worm G in the middle where I do, and then place 2 more at each enemy spawn. From here you can farm until wave 8. On wave 8, max the Worm G in the middle and use his nuke. Once your farms are done, you can put down some full AoE Eisens. When the bosses spawn, wait for both of them to be in range so you can use the Eisen clones. Alright, that's it for the Meteor Raid. On to the next one. Alright, on wave 1, place a Worm G at each enemy spawn. I only placed it at 2 because I forgot there was 3 spawns, but it should still be fine. And then place another Worm G at your base. On wave 6, max the Worm G at your base and pop his nuke. On wave 8, I thought I could afford a full AoE Eisen, but I couldn't. But you can still use a rewind on wave 8 if you want. Alright, on wave 10, your farm should be done, so from there you can start putting full AoE Eisens. I recommend turning off auto activate on Worm G so you can manually nuke all the enemies on wave 19 because the bosses on this map actually stun. Alright, that's it for Sun Raid. On to the next one. Okay, for this map, you're going to follow the exact order that I placed the Worm Gs. So place the first Worm G where I do on closest, and then the second one on the other enemy spawn. Wave 2, place another Worm G where I do and set them on closest. I also recommend you place idle where I do for the Eisen placement later. On wave 6, you can get the circle AoE on the Wormg near the base. And then on wave 7, you can max him and pop his nuke. Wave 10, place a full AoE Aizen in the back to hold off the enemies until Wormg's nuke recharges. You can also start putting the rest of your full AoE Aizens where I do. Alright, when the bosses spawn, you'll see the D cells get really close to killing me, but they don't. I recommend bringing a slow for this loadout if you want to be safe. Once the D cells are gone, you can control Aizen and use his clone's ability. Alright, that's it for the Demon Mark raid. On to the next one. Alright, on wave 2, place some Wormg in the middle where I do, and then farm until wave 4. On wave 4, get the circle AoE upgrade. From here, you can farm until wave 8. On wave 8, max Wormg and pop his nuke. On wave 9, I stopped farming and placed down my full AoE Aizens because you don't need as much cast in a 15 wave raid. But yeah, from here you can use as much money as you want on DPS. But one more thing, make sure you turn off auto activate on Wormg so you can manually use it on the last wave. When the bosses spawn, you can use Wormg's nuke, but it won't instant kill because of the explosive, so be ready to rewind. Alright, that's it for Marine HQ. On to the next one. Alright, wave 1, place a Wormg at each enemy spawn. From here you can farm until wave 4. On wave 4, place Wormg in this corner to prepare for the nuke that we're going to use on wave 7. On wave 7, use Wormg's nuke, but don't use auto activate. After that, you can start placing down all your full AoE Aizens. I think I was AFK, but as soon as the bosses spawn, you can use the nuke and it'll be an instant win. Alright, that's it for Kai Planet. On to the next one. Okay, this raid was so tough with Aizen that I just replaced him with Asta. The reason I replaced Aizen with Asta is so that Wormg's nuke one-shots the entire map on wave 15. But if you don't have Asta, you could just bring it slow instead and it should be fine. Alright, start by placing a Wormg at each spawn. On wave 6, place a Wormg in the middle where I do and pop his nuke. Also, make sure you set to closest. Alright, whenever you max idle, just look at her max range and max one Wormg on each side. It'll make more sense if you see what I'm doing. Also, make sure each of these Wormgs are set to strongest. After you max those 2 Wormgs, sell all the ones that you placed at the beginning of the game. From here, you could just set up 2 Astas at each spawn, one on first, one on last. Once you're done with all that, you can use remaining cash on whatever you want. When the bosses spawn, wait a little bit for everyone to be hit by Asta, and then you can pop Wormg's nuke. As you can see, the explosives will still be alive because they're just that tanky, but it should still be a win. Again, I recommend bringing it slow if you can. Alright, that's it for Soul Raid. On to the next one. Alright, on wave 1, place a Wormg at each enemy spawn and set both of them to last. From here, you can farm until wave 4. On wave 4, place 2 more Wormgs in the middle where I do. On wave 7, you can max one of the Wormgs in the middle and then pop the nuke. From here, you can just finish your farms. When your farms are done, you can max the other Wormg in the middle and sell the ones at the spawn. On wave 12, you can start putting down full AoE Aizens. When the bosses spawn, you could use Wormg's nuke, but you have to wait until both bosses are in Aizen's range to use the clone ability. Alright, that's it for all the evolution raids. Now we're moving on to the character drops. Alright, for Android Raid, I had to switch Aizen and Idol's orbs because Aizen couldn't reach the whole map. But the only reason I'm doing that is because I can only use these 4 units for the sake of the video. So just letting you know, you can bring a slow unit or anything you want to make this much easier on you. Alright, on wave 1, place a Wormg in the middle where I do and set them to closest. On wave 3, upgrade Wormg twice. On wave 7, you have to immediately max Wormg and pop his nuke, or else you're gonna die. Once you pop his nuke, place a full AoE Aizen behind Wormg. As soon as your farms are done, start placing as much DPS as possible, because this is only a 15 wave raid. Alright, this part is only important if you're using this exact loadout. If you're bringing a slow, then you shouldn't have to worry about this. But anyways, you have to use 2 times speed so your units attack 3 times per stun versus the 2 attacks per stun and 3 times speed. Yeah, it's a weird bug, I know. Alright, that's it for Android Raid. On to the next one. Alright guys, slight problem with this loadout. When it was time for me to do the voiceover, I was like, yeah, there's way too many steps. People are gonna get confused. While I did beat this raid with 4 units, like promised, I'm not gonna commentate because again, I felt like the steps I had to take with this loadout just made everything way too complicated. So it'll just be here for reference if you need it. I'm sorry about that, guys. I'll probably do a full tutorial on Night Kid with a different loadout. But yeah, this loadout is just way too complicated. Now it's time for the final stage, Fighter Raid. Alright, wave 1, you're gonna place 2 worm Gs in the middle and set both of them to closest. From here you can farm until wave 5. On wave 5, place down an Aizen and use his rewind ability. On wave 6, you can get full AoE on that same Aizen. From here you can finish your farms. On wave 10, you have to pop Wormg's nuke because of the airs, or you could just rewind with Aizen and pop the nuke on wave 11. I'm not sure why I waited so long to place full AoE Aizens, but yeah, you can do that whenever you finish your farm. Once the bosses spawn, wait for all the enemies to be gone, and then you can use Aizen's clones. And there you guys have it. We beat every single multipath raid using a code unit. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you feel like you still can't solo any raids or don't have the team that I showed, you can always go to my banner stream and find teammates for raids there. Anyways, I'll see you guys soon. My throat really hurts. Pause. The content is only gonna get better from here, I promise.